Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm observing a 2v2 match. See how interesting it is. One of the players in this game, I believe it's this gentleman here, is in the top 20 in the world as British. So we'll see how well that translates to the Africa Corps. Alright, so both teams spreading out to capture, fairly standard opening, couple pioneers, couple Royal Engineer squads. Yeah, looks like well, got a rifleman over here, so a fairly standard opening from all our players here. Identical builds from our two. Just kidding. So as far as army comps today, we got 2 British versus 2 African Corps. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. This map is, I really like this map. It's a little bit urban and kind of dense, right up the middle. It kind of opens up as you move towards the edges, but not so much so that there's literally zero cover. So, our first little skirmish of the game here. Little dingo light car versus some engineers, and there's a bicycle coming to help. I don't think that dingo's gonna make it. Maybe. Not anymore. He's got him, for sure. Yeah, that's the danger of light vehicles, right? Is they give you that early high mobility, but kind of an investment, right? Hard to keep alive early in the game, in my opinion. It looks like got a nice split right down the middle. British control 2 victory points. Germans made a small amount of, small invasion into the enemy territory there. So these, God, I don't know Italian. I barely know any I barely know English. This squad here, the oh my god, I can't do it. This squad right here, the one I got highlighted, they have this ability where they run faster out of combat, and that can make them really strong at, getting into battle, and especially on these larger maps, I think that's going to be really important for them getting across the map, getting into the fight early and often. He's, by the way, he's getting that from the Italian Combined Arms tech tree commander option, so liking that. This does not look like a favorable fight for our German, although he's making it work by focusing down one squad. Nicely done. That was some great co-op there. They clearly all focused the same unit there and allowed him to win that fight. Nice cutoff. The Germans have captured this cutoff point, isolating all this territory on the side, so even if the British control that north side of the map, they aren't actually getting those resources, so well done there. We'll skirmish here in the middle. This building doesn't actually have any windows on this side, so it's kind of a one-dimensional fight there, but he's got backup. That guy actually has a debuff on him. That unit got a debuff on him, and I'm not sure what gave it to him. Was it this bike? Yes. Nice. A great use of the active abilities of his units. Using that bike to mark the enemy unit and make it easier to kill, being countered by getting that building. Good. I believe this upgrade is from the Panzerjäger Command battle group, so he's got grenade launcher built into this half-track, and he just has to put a squad in it to use it. And and I think he actually also upgraded the squad inside, who also have a grenade launcher, so he's running double duty there. That's really... You know, I can't actually tell. I thought that upgrade only gave you one grenade launcher, so he clearly knows something I don't. Big battle here for the middle. Ooh, there goes the bike. Got a lot of value out of that bike, so it's okay to see it go now, especially in a big push like this. Surprised he's chasing, but actually that'd be a good trade if you can get it. He got it. He's going to lose the vehicle, but I think that was worth it. Didn't go per half track with an upgrade. So, looks like British are going to seize the center here. So it's not going to be an easy fight. Territory trading hands north and south. Germans currently hold 3 command points, so they're ticking their opponents down, but it's still extremely even. Income also appears extremely even, which makes sense on a map like this. Most of the fights are going to be right around the center and maybe going for cutoffs, so... And just a bloodbath back and forth. We're going to expect a lot of that. Good use of these buildings, I like that. Getting that heavy cover. This unit, I'll have to check if they get a bonus from being inside, because they may well. Not that I can tell.
We can't take losses like this.
But it's just trading back and forth, trading units back and forth. Not a ton gained in terms of control over the map. Alright, here we go. We got a black half track. It's going to be very effective against infantry. Notice he's keeping it way back. You know, you don't want to have that thing up front taking damage. Looks like our British player here has taken the Canadian battle group, giving them access to these Canadian shock troops. If I remember correctly, this also gives them access to some flamethrower techs, but we'll see what he ends up taking. Looks like both German players have opted for the flak half-track. Help hold control of the center here. I really like that. This vehicle is extremely fragile, but rather long range and excellent at holding infantry in place, stopping advances. So this thing is going to reign supreme until we see some tanks from our British players. Now, I suspect, I was about to say, I suspect they're very close to having tanks, and we see one of our British players starting their Stuart tank right now. Looks like both players are doing the same. So, those M3s ought to do some work here. Nice job with this infantry squad to sort of bait this unit in and get an get a mine on it and make them have to work for it. So looks like this unit hit a mine. I really like the use of mines here, especially on a less contested point on the edge where you can kind of just toss stuff down. That is a big force. He may try to go for a cutoff point here. I don't know. Not impossible that he reaches it, I think, but he's got more important things to worry about, like this push from the opponent coming up the middle right here.
Commandant, we have command points available to us.
It's going to be a skirmish across the whole map here. The British player needs to push in. He's wary of the half tracks. There it is. Yeah, that's what he was afraid of. Good news for him is he's got these anti-tank rifles now. Oh, yeah, there's the Stuart. Really well played. He got in there, did a bunch of damage with the infantry squad, and then charged in with the tank. Now, that tank doesn't have much support, but it looks like the German player's going to give it to him. He may chase here. Chase. He's going to get it, I think, if he stops. There you go. Nice hit. That was a little bit lucky, but it works out. Now, I love this German player chasing these tanks around with this anti-tank squad. That's really clever. I love that. Playing safe, both sides playing aggressive, but not overcommitting, and that's really what they ought to be doing. I think okay, one flak still alive here. See if you can hold on to that. Now I think it's the Germans' turn. Yeah, so looks like they're adding on AT. I was gonna say I think it might be their time to add on their own medium tanks, or potentially they may choose to save up for those larger tanks. Looks like both players are deciding to do the same thing, both adding on AT gun. So this German tree ultimately leads to elephant tanks. I don't know if he's going to end up using them or not, but love to see an elephant tank. I've never actually seen one in combat. I'm very familiar with them from Company of Heroes 2, but they don't play as heavy tanks are harder to get to in this game because of the length. Big push from both sides. Looks like the British players starting out with some artillery coming down, fighting hard in the middle here. The Germans pretty handily won that fight. I'm not sure exactly what went wrong for our British player there. Those AT guns firing at max range, that's what you want. You want your AT guns way back, sort of pushing away the tanks, keeping them at arm's length. Letting them know that if they want to come forward, they're going to have to eat your AT. I think this British player probably doesn't want this fight. He just... Oh, there goes a squad lost to the building collapse. I love the collapsible buildings in this game. Ooh, nice artillery right on top of that truck. Don't back up. Okay, no more artillery. You're good. Yeah, so these Stuarts have the advantage of being able to be everywhere, and you know the Germans are very strong in the middle, but the British have taken advantage of this. They've captured an extra 5 fuel per minute, capturing an extra 10 fuel per minute, and yeah, you know, I love it. And actually, they're going to have 2 of the victory points here. Looks like the Germans are wanting to end this a little earlier, right? They're investing in that early game with those light vehicles. They want to try and win this early, control those victory points. And so far, it's reflected in the scoreboard. See if that trend continues. Alright. British, excuse me. From our German players adding on a light tank to compete with the Stuart. I think that both... I don't know the armor penetration of this tank versus Stuart, but we're going to find out together. I suspect they wouldn't have added it on if they didn't feel like it would be effective. At least hold its own against the Stuart. Surprised he's choosing to reveal the tank here. Maybe he just wants to control one part of the map. Little infantry and tank action. I love this combined arms. Both players playing to their strengths of, you know, they're supporting infantry with tanks and vice versa. You don't want to just send a tank in. It's weak against a variety of things, and so is infantry, but working together, they're much stronger. Big push from the British here. Love to see a flare go out. Sort of, like he is doing a flare drop here. I'm not... This. Big fight. Looks like our British players did add on some anti-tank guns of their own, which would just to keep the opponent's vehicles at arm's length. Sort of seeing a line drawn here, right through the middle. This looks pretty good for a British player. Needs to hide his tank, but I think he's in good position here. Both the British players. That was a really good fight for the British players. They had a really nice concave, while also not being too exposed to their opponent's AT guns. See, these AT guns kind of have a... their arcs blocked a bit by these buildings, and hiding these tanks behind those buildings is exactly what you want to be doing. Looks like off the back of that push, the British are going to take all 3 victory points. I think that's... that's exactly what they need at this stage in the game. They need to play catch-up here a little bit. Our German player is adding on a Stuka... well, the rocket half-track. I'm surprised to see that. I've seen that out of a few different people. Let's just say that I really like it better from Company of Heroes 2. It fired in a line. It was extremely consistent, very popular at high levels of play. In this game, it seems good. It has a damage radius about the size of one of these capture points, but I just haven't seen it used to extreme effect yet. And I guess that may still happen. We'll see this game. In a campy game like this, where lines are drawn right through the center, I think it could definitely do pretty well. It's interesting, this Bofors added on. Is it 2 Bofors? No, just the one. Bofors emplacement to try and hold down a point is an interesting choice. I'm not a big fan of emplacements because they die too easy to indirect fire, and there's not a lot of recourse you have to deal with that, other than your own indirect fire or being extremely aggressive. But in a game like this, I just don't see that happening. So we'll see if either side... Oh, that's a squad dead. I love, buildings are a lot more fragile in this game, and I absolutely love it. They were definitely very, very strong in Company of Heroes 2. You could sit inside one, make it your fortress, and hold that point all day long with just one HMG. But with the introduction of, breach and clear, and the introduction of breach and clear, and destructible buildings that are with much lower health, it's really led to. I think buildings are in a good place here. If this tank is in danger, he needs to get out of there. He might chase, but he doesn't know where the opponent's ET guns are. They don't have an angle because of this building here, but the German player doesn't know that, and I think that was smart of him to back off. You don't want to lose your tanks to some hidden AT guns, especially if you're not going to trade. Both teams doing a great job of keeping their units alive. Not an easy thing to do, especially in games with multiple players. It gets ugly fast. Really, really easy to lose units quickly in those big fights, especially if your opponent's focusing down your units. So. A skirmish here. Our British players added on a Crusader medium tank. This thing, my usage of it, it feels like it's more AT than it is anti-personnel. But I think it's perfect for this particular situation where you got light tanks from your opponent. Let's see, is he going to be able to get out of there with the Stuart? He's trying. He might make it. Is the Crusader going to make it? This tank is very nimble, but so are those light tanks. Going to trade. Nice, you got a shell bounce off the front there. It's going to be tight. Either player bounces a shell, it's going to go the other way. Crusader's got it. Nice. Nice. Really nice for the British player. Not so nice for our Africa Corps player. That was a pretty big investment for literally zero reward. Bofors holding down this point. That's really nice. Rocket launcher, I suspect that's targeting the Bofors. It is. Is that going to kill it? Not quite. One more barrage. We'll see if if they're able to repair it in time. That's a great positioning for that AT gun. This Crusader tank can't stay, neither can Stuart. He might be I don't know if he's attacking this or if he's attacking ground. Looks like he's attacking the unit. Engineers are there to try and pull it out. It's gonna work. Man, I just love the way the map degrades over time. You know, this started out as a pristine village, multiple buildings, you know, bushes and half walls and paved roads, and now it's just a leveled town. Lighting fires, explosions everywhere. I love it. Tells the story. This Beaufort is still alive. If you can get an engineer over there. Chance. Never mind, there's no chance. Bye-bye. Not dead yet. Okay, it's dead. Alright, so remember how I said I didn't like the Stuka? I lied. I really like it. I really, really like it against emplacements, turns out. Little tank battle here. That's a Panzer III. Okay, so the Panzer III's out. That should be able to go toe-to-toe with any of our British players' tanks. Crusader doing work. Okay, I stand corrected on yet another thing, which is to say this tank is doing work against infantry. So I think this is a great add in this particular game. All right, let's take stock of resources here. Yeah. I mean, both teams have very high veterancy units. But, you know, I'd say that huge tanks are a little ways off. I'm curious what their next ad is here. It feels like one big tank from either side could do a lot of work here. Take a quick stock of... Okay, neither British player has teched up to my personal favorite M3 Grant medium tank. Take a look at our German player. Neither is teching towards Tiger. Again, I don't blame them. This game is this Company of Heroes 3 is more balanced around light vehicles and medium vehicles than its Company of Heroes 2 ever was. Company of Heroes 2 had a very short early game and got into medium and large tanks rather quickly compared to this game. That might be a dead Panzer. It is in fact a dead Panzer, and also a dead Crusader. I feel like that trade is relatively equal, but he's going to lose both. I don't know if that was worth it. But there's a big push coming, so maybe... Well, that's a dead Stuka. This is a great push by the British team. Now they need to be careful of these AT guns, which it looks like they're going to be able to deal with. Yes. Okay, now I think the Germans just lost hard. Not only did they lose the battle, they lost a lot of high veterancy units. I don't even think they need to retreat here. I mean, I don't blame them for being conservative there. No point in losing your tanks when you don't have to, and this one was getting off of low health. Wow. Yeah. That might be game over for our German players. They have fewer victory points. They currently have less control of the victory points. And they both lost about half their armies, including their Panzer III tanks and their Stuka rocket launcher. Now, the Stuka may have served its purpose, but it's not looking good. They just added another Panzer III. Yep. So they're not out. They're definitely not out. They have a little bit of breathing room. The British don't control all 3 points, so there's a chance here. And you know, one of the British players lost 3 tanks in that push. So I think the biggest problem for the Germans right now is the fact that they don't have enough infantry, and their British counterparts have a lot of anti-tank guns, which is going to be a problem. Be coming down to the wire. I think what the Germans need to do is group up for a big push, which they are. Yeah, that's a little sketchy. That's a dead Panzer III. And yeah, I think that's gonna pretty much shut down the push before it happens. See if this tank, if the Germans can kill all 3 of these tanks without losing this Panzer, but that's not happening. Nice bounce, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, well played. Well played by the British player, keeping his own tanks safe and getting that, encircling both the enemy tanks. I think the it was funny right there at the end. He just overextended with that Panzer III with no support, cost him the game right at the end. So, wow, what a great game! Super even, really fun to watch. Taking a quick look at the stats here, I mean, very, very even. Very, very even. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did, and I'll see you in the next one.